Well, hello, Kristen and Raquel. Thank you so much for being on the Emotional Leads podcast.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited. So, Kristen and Raquel are from the Functional Moms podcast, and I got to be on their show, and I had so much fun. I really wanted them to be on the Emotional Leads podcast also because we have so many things in common to talk about, and we probably could have talked even longer on the last podcast. So
Yes.
yeah, there's so much to talk about. Women over 40, we got it. So here's what I'd love to do is I want to hear first, I'd love to hear each of your own stories. And then I'd like to hear how the two of you came together and why you created Functional Moms podcast. And but I want to hear a little bit about each of you because you each have your own story coming in. So, Kristen, let's start with you, and then you can kick it off to Raquel, and then the two of you can tell your together story.
Sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again, Kim, for having us. We're so excited to be able to share our story today. And for myself, I really started off on a functional medicine health journey quite a few years ago. It was about 12 years ago. My third child was born, and she was sick all the time. And she constantly had ear infections. And I was kind of like, wow, my other kids were not like that. And then she ended up around 9 months being diagnosed with a ton of life-threatening food allergies. So she was allergic to eggs.
Mm.
She was allergic to all these different nuts. She couldn't have wheat. There were so many things. And I was really upset and unsure where to even turn. And I had had myself gut issues for years. So I came down with a gut infection after a round of antibiotics. And I kind of just looked around and was like, wow, we are just not healthy. And ironically, I always consider myself a healthy person. We always, I cooked my own food. I tried to eat healthy as best I knew. So I was kind of shocked that we were in such bad shape. And then I was lucky around that time to come across a functional nutritionist in my area. And she gave me she opened my eyes. I had never heard of functional medicine. I didn't know anything about like how food could affect your immune system, how it could affect your gut health, how it could affect, create allergies even potentially. So that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And after I made some changes, my health improved dramatically. My daughter's health improved dramatically. She dropped a lot of her food allergies. She just became a different kid. No more ear infections. Those were gone. We didn't have to do tubes in the ears. That was like the next step. And then slowly I started to realize my whole family's health was improving by improving our nutrition and our lifestyle. So that kind of began my journey. And as I, continued on it and myself, I started, feeling better and better. I really realized I want to help other people learn about functional medicine, learn about how they can use, food as medicine, how they can use their lifestyle as their medicine. And so I enrolled in Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. And I thought, I was actually very surprised by the program. I thought I was going to learn more about the basics, the nutrition, the movement. And that was a core part of the program. But the real crux of the program was the coaching piece and helping people tap into their inner strengths and helping them see the positive things and using that positive psychology to help them really, see what's right with them versus always looking at what's wrong with you. And so that even helped myself. It changed the way I saw life. And I have to say, I would not even be here today with Raquel and have started Functional Moms podcast without that whole process.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful. And I love that you started to get into the functional medicine piece, but we will definitely dig into that a little bit
Mhm.
deeper. And I'm so thankful to hear that this really helped not just you, but your whole family, not just your child. That's amazing. It really does affect everyone around you when you learn these things. So wonderful.
Mhm.
Thank you. Raquel, give me a little background on you and what you're doing and how you got there.
Okay. So, so we're talking in terms of my background and how I got there in terms of functional medicine, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And anything else you want to throw in, like even your personal journey.
Right. So, so so functional medicine came into my life during COVID. Really, I had never heard of functional medicine. Now, I've been in the health industry through, I'm a fitness professional. So I'm a personal trainer. I'm an older adult and senior fitness specialist. I have my own business. I had opened up a little space where I was teaching. I started these fit mom camps. And I was trying at that time. I'm a single mom, first of all. I'm a single mom of 4 children, and I have 4 kids in 6 years. So they were really at that time, I think like my son was 6, so my oldest daughter was 12. And I remember that when I started my own personal training business, I did it so that I can be more, I didn't want to become part of the statistic of working a million different jobs and everybody else's hours and missing the time with my kids. So I started my own business so that I can have those hours. And then I was like, okay, how can I do better? And then that's when I started the fit camps. Also, while I was in that journey, because I love fitness, and part of the reason that I chose to do fitness, I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. So when I got into fitness, because I needed to make money, but I wanted to do it in a way that I had to kind of be the best version of myself. Like if I was sitting in a cubicle working somewhere, I can be like, oh my God, my life. But because I was in fitness, I had to be healthy. I had to work. No one's going to hire an out of shape trainer. So it forced me to be this version of myself, or to do well. And I knew it would help my kids also. So, in a sense, that in itself, I feel is like functional medicine. I didn't know it at the time. So then I was like, how can I do better? How can I, bring more financial abundance so I can take care of my family better? And then I thought, let me start camps. And not only that, I really wanted to find like my thing. Like I love fitness, but I felt like there was something missing and I wanted something more. I wanted a program to really help women all around. And I wasn't sure exactly what that looked like, but I just opened up this little place. I started the Fit Mom camps. Lord and behold, I couldn't believe it. Like I was teaching classes and they were 30 minutes, like from 5:30 a.m. all the way through, and classes were packed, and it was a lot, but I was happy for it. I would meet these women, ask them about their lives. Why are you here? Why do you want to join the Fit Mom camp? It was like women of 10, and they would tell me their stories and doing great. Then COVID happened and I had to shut the whole thing down. Had to shut the whole thing down. So, like everybody else, for a minute, I was like, oh, forced to like not work and just hang out and eat popcorn with the kids and watch Netflix. Then that died out. And I was like, what am I going to, I said, you know what? This is an actual opportunity. Like when this is all over, eventually this is going to be over. And when I go out back into the world, do I want to do exactly what I was doing before? And if I do, then that's great. I'll just keep growing with what I was doing. But this is an opportunity that if there's something that I didn't want, what could that look like? Because maybe I can do something. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do exactly what I was doing. I love fitness, but it's not just fitness. Something's missing. And I started doing research, and I was constantly looking. Couldn't find, I saw like lifestyle coaching, and I saw all these different types of coaching, nutritional, and just all these different things. But I was like, I like that piece, and I like that piece, and I like that piece, but they're all separate. And I was looking for something more together. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who actually was one of our guests, Erin Falco. And she was like, I was talking to her, and she was like, you should look into functional medicine. And she was doing the functional medicine. She was an IFM, and Institute of Functional Medicine. Yes. And so I was like, great. I looked into that, and I was like, wow, this is it. Now, I would have not known that if I didn't have to go through all of that other research. But when I saw functional medicine and everything that it offered, I was like, it had the movement part, it had the nutrition, but it had the positive psychology part. And to me, that was so important, because when I started my life over as a single mother, I really had to figure out my mindset. And it was so hard. It was so hard starting over at 40 something. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I was like, how am I going to take care of this? You know, what's going to happen? And it was such a mindset thing. But then the part of working out was also important because I felt when I worked out, I felt physically strong. I had to eat well. I want my kids to be healthy. And also my son had ADHD, and I didn't really know a lot about the dyes and all these. I started to learn about that, and they were putting my son on medication, and I was like, how am I going to get my son off this medication? So when I bumped into functional medicine and I started learning about it, I was like, I am so doing this. And so I knew what I was going in there to learn, but what I did not realize was other things that I didn't know that I was going to learn, which was, um, I'm so used to being the trainer and telling people what to do, how to do it. And I think that didn't serve a lot of the women. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that at the time. I was taking their power away by always telling them what to do and how to do it. And instead of more like, hey, why do you want to do this? What do you think is the next step for you? And having a conversation where they're coming up with the answers and they're feeling their power, and that I'm seeing that for them. That was like such a huge, like, I still get like saying this right now just gives me like, that's such a huge game changer. And that was something that really changed my life, because it also helped me in parenting. You know, it helped me in parenting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it helped me in my parenting, helped me in my personal relationships. It helped me in my relationship with myself. I've always journaled. And
Yeah.
I started journaling more in a way as if I was like, okay, so if I was coaching this person, that's right. Like, you know, so I
Yeah.
started just using it in
Yes.
so many ways. And like Kristen said, when I met Kristen in the cohort and we started doing this journey, like, I just feel that being able to focus on what's right about me instead of trying to fix, like, oh, I screwed that up. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yes,
You know?
Yeah.
it's
And that's not easy.
overwhelming. It's overwhelming when you start to look at all the things that have to be fixed. And what
Yes.
I love, you both really touched upon that mindset. You know, women have a lot of limiting beliefs, and you
Hmm.
are really talking about that coaching piece of it where listening and letting women feel empowered. That is such a powerful statement to let somebody else have the power, because we do feel like in our world that sometimes we have to show our expertise and tell people what to do, when in reality I think functional medicine, you're sharing a little bit that we all inside have an idea, we have an intuition of some things that are going on. And I'd love to know really quick before we get into what is functional medicine and functional medicine health coaching, how did the two of you, so you met in the program, is that how you got together and then decided to go on this journey together?
Yeah, we were both
Yes.
in the cohort together. We were in the cohort together. How many people do you think were in that cohort?
So it was very random because Functional Medicine Coaching Academy has students from all over the world. So
Yeah.
there were people from Israel, from India, from Canada. And so the fact that Raquel and I were both from New Jersey was kind of like a total, like,
Yeah.
wow, very unusual. And maybe there was like 20 of us, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
There were
yeah.
like 20 to 25 people in that cohort. And what happened was that toward the tail end, I started to have a lot of anxiety because I passed, right? So I knew I passed. I knew I was graduating, and I was really excited about that. But then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I passed, I'm graduating, and now I'm going to have to do something with this functional medicine health coaching certification. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to do the business part of it? How am I going to make sure that I'm showing up for that? Because as we know, when you're starting a new career as an adult person and you already have, certain things of a way of living, like, it's so easy to get that certification and then it starts collecting dust. And the next thing you know, you're like, shoot, I never did anything with that. Oh, well. And I was like, hell no, that's not happening. So I put a message out before, like, while we were still in the program, and I put a message out and just asked everyone in our cohort who would be interested in doing something that I called Let's Keep It Going, FMCA,
Mhm.
where we would meet twice a month, just to say, hey, how's it going? Like, just to keep it alive, just to hold each other accountable. And out of all those people, only 3 women.
And I was one of them. I
Yes,
reached
and
out.
Kristen,
Yeah.
and so we would meet twice a month, and it just so happens that at the end of the, we would meet for like 30 minutes to an hour, and at the end, Kristen and I would always end up hanging out a little bit longer than the other 2 women, and we would talk and talk. And then Kristen was really trying to like get the motor going with
Yeah,
her
I mean, so
certification.
I'll be 100% honest. When I graduated, I went for some job interviews and realized nobody understands what functional medicine is,
Yes.
nor do they understand what health coaching is. So we realized there was a huge gap there. And we were like, wow, this is the most exciting thing that ever happened to us. More people need to know about this. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
thus Functional Moms podcast was born.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
we decided maybe we need to do something to bring that awareness. Because every time we try to apply for something like as a functional medicine health coach, they were like, "Oh, great." And they would be like, "And so
Mm.
what type of nutrition are you going to be talking about?" And we're
Yeah.
like, "No, we're not nutritionists."
That is so interesting. And I'm so glad you brought that up because my title's nutritional health coach. So it's very confusing for people, not a registered dietitian. And instead of saying what we're not, like all the things that we are have so much to do with the empowerment and the changing of the habits. And I love that you're bringing that awareness. I love your page. I love the podcast. And so this is it. Let's talk about it. What exactly, and either one of you can answer any of these questions. What exactly is functional medicine health coaching? And of course, there's more than you can even say. We have to be honest here. There's more than you can even encompass in a conversation because everyone's unique when they walk in the door. But let's just
Right.
throw out some things that you do.
Sure. Yeah. So first you have to understand what functional medicine is. And I think that is such a confusing area. A lot of people have no idea. When you ask them, have you heard of functional medicine? A lot of people say no. So functional medicine is root cause medicine. It's getting and it's asking the question, why? Why do you have those symptoms that you have? And it's also looking at the body as a whole versus in conventional medicine, it's much more driven on, say something is wrong with your brain, you would see a neurologist. You're having cardiovascular issues, you would see a cardiologist. But a functional medicine practitioner is going to look at your whole body as a system. And so it is a very different approach. And of course, we still need conventional medicine, but functional medicine can help people that are kind of trapped in that system of jumping from specialist to specialist. There's nothing seriously wrong with them. And perhaps they've tried different prescription medications and they're not working. And so that's where functional medicine can come in and really help people. For example, say you had a rash on your skin and it was not, you go to your GP or you go to a dermatologist and they're going to give you a cream to try to get rid of it. Well, a functional medicine doctor or practitioner is going to ask you a lot more in-depth questions. They're going to actually go back to when you were born and, how was your birth? Were you a C-section? Were you a vaginal delivery? They're going to go all the way that far. Whereas in conventional medicine, you would not encounter that kind of experience. And so they're going to get to keep asking why. Why do you have the rash? Could it be something stress related? Could it be something with your gut health, which we would never think of, right? Would skin and gut be related? But in functional medicine, they're going to do that. So now it brings us to the health coaching piece. And that is so the core of functional medicine is looking at how your lifestyle is impacting your health. And so there's these modifiable lifestyle factors that a functional medicine practitioner will look at. And it's what's your nutrition like? What's your movement like or lack thereof? What does your stress load look like? How's your sleep and relaxation? And then also, how could relationships, like your personal relationships, be impacting your health? And so all those parts are probably the most difficult part to fix, right? Like most people could go and do the testing or take supplements, but when you're actually have to do the hard work of maybe altering something in your diet or trying to get a movement plan working, that's where the coach comes in. And the coach asks you those questions to help you tap into, how are you going to tackle this? And so that's where the difference is too with a nutritionist, because a nutritionist might write you a plan, which is excellent, and they would give it to you. But at the end of the day, you have to implement that. And you also have to manage your family and what their preferences are. And, so it's all really getting down to the real work is in the modifiable lifestyle factors. And that's where the coach helps.
Yes. We consider the functional medicine health coach. We are the golden key to Paradise Island.
I love that. So something that the two of you have also talked about, especially on your feed, is the mindset piece of it, because I'll give you a great example. I have someone who came in yesterday, and of course, the number one thing that people come in for, and there's all kinds of different, things that are happening with their bodies, but weight loss is probably one of the number one things people come in with. And this person was really sitting down, and we couldn't even get to the body part, because when we did the grounding exercise, just to kind of get her in the space, she came straight from work. There was tears coming. And there were things going on at home that were bubbling up that we couldn't even get to the body. So when you're dealing with women and you're dealing with things that are going on, what are some of the obstacles that are happening? I'm just using that as an example. You don't even
Yes.
have to go back to that, but you
Sure.
have women who have these limiting beliefs, who have these blockages, these obstacles. How are you helping them overcome that to get to that next step of actually looking at some of the other lifestyle and physical things?
Right. So this is the part that I love about functional medicine. And, Kristen and I have some core beliefs through functional moms. And the first thing is I think women, especially midlife women, a lot of us can be in a sandwich, and there's so many moving parts. And we're in the sandwich with our aging parents, we're in the sandwich with our family members, and then the thing that we don't usually get to is ourselves. And then when we decide to focus on ourselves, like your client there that couldn't even get to that because just grounding, she's like, oh my God, I have not even done this. It's that you just start crying because you realize like it's just so much. You never even gave yourself an opportunity. And I think a lot of that, and Chris and I talk about this all the time, is the all or nothing mindset. Like the first thing is dropping the all or nothing mindset.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's the all or nothing mindset. I think it's, it has a lot to do with reframing how you're looking at certain things in your life. And like, if you're in a certain space and you're stuck or trapped and it's been a minute, like, you're probably looking at it in a certain way that is not relieving and allowing you a space to breathe and be, so that you can make the changes that are necessary for yourself. And that's, that's the great thing about, having a functional medicine health coach, is that you actually, whatever woman is listening to this right now, you have the right answer for yourself, and you are right where you need to be. And having a functional medicine health coach helps you to just talk it out, right? You talking it out, and then you find your way. It's because we don't take the time, the space. We don't create the space for ourselves. That's why I love journaling. And so that's that. And then I think also we have a perfection thing.
Yeah. The all or nothing is perfectionism at its worst.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the other thing is, one of our core values is Kristen and I decided in the very beginning when we started this podcast, because we knew zero about podcasting, okay? Nothing.
I was with you.
Yeah. How are we going to do this? Well, we are going to do it imperfectly. That's how we're going to do it. It's the only way it's going to get done.
That.
The only way it's going to get done. So doing it imperfectly, and how do you get things done? You have to be consistent. You have to start from point A to point Z is how's you got to get there by being consistent. You have to be, but you're not going to be there by being perfectly consistent, because I promise you,
No.
you're going to get
Right.
frozen. You're going
Yeah.
to do it being imperfectly consistent. That's how you get to be consistent to reach your goals. And I think that, and that it goes, that like goes, weaves right into the all or nothing mindset. You dropping the all or nothing mindset, doing things imperfectly. 0 is a number, right? So like you're like somebody that's having an eating issue, she's been doing great, then she went out and or she stayed in the closet and binged out. Oh my God, I ruined it all. And like, yeah, yeah. But you know what? You're doing this imperfectly. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Get back on the
Well,
Okay.
horse.
and you can't erase all the progress that you had, right? Like
Exactly.
just one
Right.
slip up isn't going to ruin everything that you did. But I know so many times I've caught myself in the all or nothing mindset. Even when you're aware, you can easily slip back. And I guess
Yes.
it really is that perfectionism that a lot of us kind of cling to, that we want everything to go exactly the way we envisioned it, and we're not being flexible and realizing, no, it's not going to work that way.
Right. Showing
So,
ourselves
yeah,
grace. Right.
exactly.
Oh,
Showing yourself grace.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
then the last thing is, I think, is doing things imperfectly. And so, for example, that woman that was doing so great, and then all of a sudden she finds herself binging out in the closet. And then she's going to come out of that closet. She's going to dust herself off. And she's like, all right, I'm going to get back on the horse. And then she's going to celebrate the small wins that she had.
Yes, that's so key.
Yes, yes. I love that because I think that women in general beat themselves up a lot, whether it's about their body, their habits, parenting, the whole 9 yards. And when we
Yes.
do that, we completely forget that, oh, by the way, I drank more water today. I had one more vegetable. I walked 1,000 more steps. They all were focusing is on, I snapped at the kids and I ate, candy when I wasn't feeling 100%. We don't celebrate that. Perfectionism and this all or nothing mentality. I'd love to get your thoughts on how you think that's tied into society and diet culture, and if that's something you try to help people break free from.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in general that we're such an all or nothing society, and that's where people get in that trap where they're trying to follow the plan or whatever it is perfectly, and then there's that mess up. And so often, like, I'll work with people that everything's great all week, and then say the weekend comes and you have social engagements and things and it doesn't go perfectly. Maybe you overeat, or you had something you didn't want to, or you don't feel great, and then you're just ready to throw in the towel. Like, it didn't work for me, that wasn't good. And so I think that the all or nothing is really our worst enemy that we have. And I think as a culture, we're very all or nothing. You see a lot of that in society in general.
I agree. I also think that we have this bad habit of I'll start over on Monday, January 1st, the first of the month. And we literally could start over on Tuesday at 2 p.m. and it doesn't matter. We have these things locked into our head, 30-day, programs or diets or things that we feel like we have to start and we're going to finish perfectly. And it's
Yes.
interesting too, even with working out, you all had one of the greatest things on your feed about slipping in the workouts in little increments of time. And
Oh
I
my
am
God.
guilty.
Yeah.
I'm just going
Yes.
to be honest with you. Like,
Yes.
I want to get my 30 to 40 minutes in. And if I can't do that, my brain automatically says, you're not getting your workout in. Instead of going out every hour after a client and walking for 10 minutes, doing air squats after every meal. So I appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. That was an experiment that we did. We conducted. It's so great because it's the 5-minute workout. Okay. And what's interesting is that you would think like, oh, what's 5 minutes? So how many times have you heard yourself, oh my gosh, I have such a crazy day. I'm not gonna get to go to the gym. Like, there's no way I'm getting my gym clothes, getting in the car, driving there, doing the workout, getting back in the car, right? It's like a whole thing. or even working out at home. Like I have a whole, like 45 minutes, an hour, 20, whatever. I don't have time. But do you have 5 minutes? You can do something for 5 minutes. And then the thing is like, well, Raquel, oh my gosh, what the hell is 5 minutes? Well, I was curious because Kristen and I actually were talking about this in one of our shows, and then we posted, and then I was like, Kristen, I actually want to, let's like, because we talked about it, but I want to do it. Let's do it and see. So we did a 5 minute, 5 day workout challenge. And it was
Mhm.
like the best thing we ever did because
Yeah, it was an
we,
eye opener for sure. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Kristen was like, I was
Yes.
like, so we basically the thing is 5 minutes, for 5 days we did it, and it was three exercises. You can pick any three exercises, and you do 10 reps, and you just run the clock. So you start the clock. So we started with basics, air squats, like you said, push-ups, and you can do any push-up that you want,
and
modified
like I
push-up.
did them off my stairs. Like they don't incline
Right.
push up.
Yeah.
It didn't have
Right.
to
So
Yeah.
be
you can do
full
a wall
push-ups.
push-up, whatever type of push-up that works for you, and sit-ups, right? And whatever that looks like. And so we did that. And so at the end, I said, because Kristen and I were like FaceTiming doing it together. So we ran it. And then I said to Kristen, I was like, okay, how many did you do? And she's like, well, I got 4 rounds in. And I was like,
Yeah.
right. And so she
Yeah.
4 rounds.
That's
So I
more
was
than we
like,
would do
right. And I
usually.
was like, how many? So how many did you do? She's like, well, I did 10 each. And I was like, yeah, but how many total did you do? And she's like, well, I did. And I was like, no, you did 4 rounds. So that means you did
Because my
40.
brain, was
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
rounds. I'm not counting the number I did,
The
right?
number.
So
And
yeah,
40 is a lot because normally
Yeah,
we do
for
like a 3 by
fun.
10 or 2 by 15 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got 40 squats, 40 push-ups, 40
Yes.
sit-ups. And then when you add that all together, that's 160 reps altogether.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
on the second day, though, that's what, 300 and something. It has a
Yeah.
compound effect every day that you do
It
it.
does. And I think what you're also helping people with is when women do a little bit over and over and over again, we start that brain groove where the rewiring starts because we just have to do it. And it's so
Yes.
funny that you're talking about this because that's how I got back into doing push-ups. I took a break, don't remember why. Maybe it was just not in my programming. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've gotten so weak. And so every time I had a couple of minutes, I would just do as many as I could with good form. It took me literally 3 days to get back to where I was, just because I was only doing it whenever I, had that little break. And my husband, I'm so proud of him. I work out in the morning, so I'm very likely to get it all done, but very
Yes.
proud of him. He comes home and he keeps one set of heavy weights out on our back porch, which is right around from our kitchen. And as we're cooking dinner, he goes out and he just does one exercise if he didn't get anything in. And he doesn't, I don't think, I think sometimes men are able to do this a little bit easier than us. He doesn't have that limiting factor that I have to do 30 minutes or I have to do 4 exercises. And we
Right.
still have that. So thank you for helping women with that
Yeah.
because I think that's amazing. But that leads me to my next question. There is so much information and so much fitness, wellness, nutritional information online right now, and women are
Mhm.
overwhelmed. And, we've
Mhm.
already been overwhelmed by the idea that science keeps changing too. What foods are okay, what's not okay, science on muscle, and we're all over the place. How are you helping women to kind of like pare down and figure out what's right for them with every time you open and you're scrolling, you're like, oh, I should do that. Oh, no, I should do that. And we're all over the place.
Yeah, I think our focus is really on the behavior change itself. And I also think it's like allowing women to tap into their inner knowing because at the
Mm.
end of the day, there is no one diet that's perfect for everybody. It's, we're all so bio individual. So I think the purpose
Mhm.
of Functional Moms podcast is really to let people tap into, they have the knowing inside themselves. And then we give very simple tips that you can apply. Like, for example, like the 5 minute workout, you only need 5 minutes. You can do that experiment on yourself. And we're sort of a gateway to functional medicine and functional medicine health coaching for people because all it is really manipulating your behavior and your lifestyle, at your pace, at whatever works for you and individually. So I think that's where we're a little bit different than maybe other shows are giving people specific nutrition advice. You know, we have our experts on that come and share with us. And Raquel and I like to share about what we're doing personally, but
Right.
we also leave it up to each individual person to start where they're at.
That's really powerful. And that I think the changing of the habits, that's the biggest part. We have
Yes.
so much information and we can get a list of anything we're supposed to do, but implementation is the problem for a lot of us because we do
Right.
get overwhelmed. And I
Yes.
love the way the two of you are helping people break that down. But the inner, you've said this more than once, and it's so good. Knowing inside, we know inside. We have, I've been having gut issues, by the way. And so I've been going through, I've been talking to functional medicine practitioners on the podcast. And it's really funny because I go to the doctor, and I love my doctor, by the way. We are not in this podcast, we're not putting down conventional medicine because there is
Absolutely.
a purpose, and we need
Absolutely.
things that are dealing with trauma. There, sometimes we need medicine, sometimes we need surgery.
Yeah.
We know that.
It's a
But
joint venture.
it is everything together. But I had this gut feeling when they kept saying, let's just do the colonoscopy. Let's just see if you have a motility issue and need medicine. I just had this gut feeling there was something more to it. And I love that you shared that. Things are so much better than they were, but it's because I did all those things. I went along with it. I would just to make sure everything was okay on the conventional
Exactly.
side. But
Yes.
that gut instinct of being depleted in certain things like some minerals and things that I needed to check out was really important. And to just keep plugging away. And with you helping your clients do that, you're also advocating for them to look in all corners. So when you do that, are you helping them even if they have to go to the doctor? Do you help them figure out like what are the questions to ask? Or helping them just kind of like find out where do I start? Is that what you're
Right.
helping with them with too?
Yeah. You know what I think? Yes, I think that the most important thing to all of it is listening to your inner voice. I think we all have an inner voice, an inner intuition. And, you mentioned earlier, you talked about limiting beliefs, and the limiting belief idea that you have within yourself can get in the way. And, I've had clients that would say to me, well, I just don't feel that confident that I would make the right decision for myself. Right. But the thing is that how do you gain that awareness? It's because you have not given yourself an opportunity because you don't spend time with yourself. Spending time with yourself, whether it's like journaling, whether it's just, you know, taking a before going, like if you're working, before going home, going to a parking lot somewhere and park in front of a tree and just look at the tree for, 5 minutes. It's spending time with yourself, because how are you supposed to know anything about yourself if you're not spending time in building a relationship with the most important person that you have, which is you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
So
time with yourself. I love that you said that. So I have a question for you. I was going to save
sure.
this till later, but give me some tips for women to cultivate getting to know themselves a little bit better and spending time with themselves.
So the first thing that comes to mind is, because it's something that I do personally myself, so I know it's 100% solid. Journaling, right? Journaling is the first thing. And I've had well, I don't know what would I journal about? Like, how would I start? Like, what would I write? And I would say, you would write that. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm writing about. I don't know what to journal about. What
You
am I
know,
going to write
you
about?
helped me, Raquel, with journaling, just in the fact that I always felt like it had to be, again, going in that all or nothing thing, right? I had to do it like every day or I had to do a certain amount of writing, or, I had to fill a page or whatever it was. And that's
Right.
so not true.
That's
Like
so
it,
not
it could be
true.
one line that you just
It
put
could be.
down,
Yes.
and maybe you don't do it for 3 weeks or whatever, or 2 months, and then all of a sudden you get back. So it's not like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's what journaling, there can be blocks for a lot of people, even clients I've worked with are like, oh, I don't know how I would do that, and they're worried, I don't have any time anyway. How would I journal? But they're looking at it as a all or nothing, I think.
Yeah. I
Oh,
I carry my
yeah.
I carry my journal with me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. Like literally
That's
it's in my bag
great.
Yep.
everywhere I
Yeah,
go.
you got me to
Everywhere I
do
go.
that too. That's a
Yeah, and
great tip.
because I never
Oh,
know, like I could be in the car, maybe I have to wait for something, and so hey, maybe I'll grab my journal and write. There's some seasons in my life where I'm journaling all the time. Maybe I have things that are really overwhelming in my life and I write about it. It's scientifically proven that writing slows down your train of thought and you start your brain is figuring it out as you're writing about it. And you build confidence that way. You build confidence within yourself. You start building confidence within your own know-how. Right. And so that's one way that I would start. Listen, there's other ways too. You can go for a hike in the woods, which I know that maybe some women wouldn't do that by themselves, but I did. And it was amazing. I had an amazing time with myself. Take yourself out on a date. Take yourself out on a date. I take myself out on dates. I'm like, I'm having a date with myself today. So I think that building that relationship, and is one way that you can start really getting to know the strongest parts of yourself. And then I think even like, the job of a functional medicine health coach is to see in you what you need to see in yours to help you bring that out of yourself. Having someone that you can talk to, I think for a period of time is so helpful. That was one of the huge things that I also learned when I was in the functional medicine academy. When we were there, and that was part of our training. We had to coach each other.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that it's going to look so different for each woman, right? Like someone could just be like, I absolutely hate journaling. It's not going to work. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then you don't have to journal. There's other ways like of being and just carving out small amounts of time for yourself. Even if, and now the other thing that we use a lot is meditation. But when people think of meditation, they think, okay, you have to sit on a cushion and it has to be like this
Right.
certain way. And I
You
got to
have to
listen
cross
to
your
this app, or I got to, there's so many, again, blocks,
yes.
mindset blocks that we
Mhm.
have about it. I mean, it could just literally be going outside, getting some fresh air and taking a couple of deep breaths and then going back inside to whatever chaos is unfolding. If you're a mom, there's always something.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It can be 5 minutes.
Can be
And I
fine.
think there
Yes.
is that limiting belief that all of these things go back to the workout exercise plan that you all came up with, if even spending time with yourself alone. So you just unblocked something for me. I want to tell you the journaling thing is challenging. I have a journal all the time by my bed, but carrying it with me would be so much more powerful because my thoughts do not always occur right when I'm sitting there at the end of the day, just trying to
Yeah.
unwind and trying,
Yeah.
like, that is not when things are figuring out for me. It's in the middle of stuff. And I
Right.
love that. The other thing I love is just not being perfect, because I'm that little girl that used to like get only fresh school supplies and want to write neatly and have to rewrite my notes if they did not look good. And I don't write really well as a math girl. And so to not have to be perfect in my journal because it's mine. And this is the other thing that I used to think when I would journal. This is kind of laughable now. Like, what if something happened to me and people read my journal?
I used to think
And
that too. I hear
You know
that.
what I think? I think,
yes.
wow, I'm going to help so many people.
Yes.
One of the biggest things I was be scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, if my kids read this, oh my God, when I'm gone, they're going to read my journals. And I think to myself, you know what? Then they're going to realize, that, wow, mom was going through all that and look at what she did. Right.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And then they're going to
Yeah.
realize like, oh, okay. It's okay to, I can feel like a complete F up and get up and be like, all right, here I go. Here I
Yes.
freaking go. I want to also, I can't let this go by without saying this because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not saying this. It's very important. when you talk about that woman and, connecting with yourself so that you have the awareness to make the choices that you need and step forward for yourself. I want to say that for me, my faith was a huge, like, it goes hand in hand. When I'm journaling, FYI, I'm not just journaling to myself. I'm literally, they're all Dear God letters. Every
Love
single
that.
one of
Love
them is a
it.
Dear God letter. I have my Bible like right in front of me. I'm looking at it right now, and I'll read scripture, and then I will just meditate. Yeah, just, people say meditate. I just let it sink in, be in it, and then I write about it. Like, and things just come. Things will just come. You building that relationship, understanding that it's not just you don't, bending reality, right? Bending your reality to where you want it to be has to do with understanding that there is a purpose for you, and it's the perfect, wonderful purpose for you. And the journey is getting there, right? And we're never going
Mhm.
to arrive, because when you
Right.
get there, then you're going to see the next little thing and you'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And that's
Yes.
the other thing with wellness too. Like we always say wellness is a journey. It's not like you're trying to get to a certain place or whatever. A lot of people think, oh, once I weigh this amount, I'll be happy. If you're on the weight list,
Right.
and it's like, no, like it's a process. Your body's always changing, and you have to be that
Yes.
growth mindset is so key. It's all goes back to the mindset.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love that. Both things that you said, the faith, because spirituality plays a big part in that wheel that you're talking about of all the different parts of our lives that play into what's going on with our health. And just having this divine power. But I love that you brought that up. It looks different for everyone.
Yes.
And I think it's super powerful when you look at this whole right or wrong that women feel. They're right or they're wrong. They're doing it okay. They're not doing it okay. You're doing it. And this journey, like you
Yes.
said, the destination, if we got to the destination, what would we work on anyway? Self-improvement is fun. And if we make it fun, and you
Mhm.
two make it so much more enjoyable and so much more fun.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, there's a word that pops around a lot. And I already know from what you're saying the answer to it, but I love to hear you articulate, because the two of you are articulating so many amazing thoughts for women to reshape how they're looking at their health, their life, their being, their relationship with themselves. But we just always hear this motivation. Do you have the motivation?
Mm.
How do you respond to someone who comes in and says, I know what I need to do, but I don't have the motivation?
Okay, I immediately have a response for that.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. This is
Yeah.
what's so fun about having two people, because I see you both light up and I'm like, who's
Yeah,
going?
yeah. Um, I know what I have to do, but I don't have the motivation. And my answer to that is do it anyway. Because that's it. It's like, listen, just think of, well, for any woman that, had that if you're a childbearing mother, I didn't have the motivation to get up in the middle of the night. I didn't want to, right? I didn't want to. I was dead tired, but I did it. I did it because I had to do it, right? I had to do it so I can take care of my baby, whatever. But, it's, I think when you're led by motivation is short lived.
It comes and goes. It's
Yeah, in the
not
Yes.
starting line,
consistent.
yeah, they hit they fire. You're at the starting line. Everybody's running off the starting. Everybody's great
Mhm.
at the starting gate, right? And then it's like halfway through, you're like, oh shit, I'm really getting tired now. And you start losing motivation. So what's going to keep you going? It's the vision that you have for yourself. If you cast the vision for yourself and you know that the woman that is ahead of you, she's there waiting. Raquel, are you gonna, drop the ball halfway through? I'm here, I'm waiting. I'm right here. I'm right here. And so then it's that those principles, it's not an all or nothing mindset. I can take a rest. I'm going, but I'm just going to take a little rest. I'm not exactly motivated. And maybe today I'm feeling tired, and I'm not doing this because of motivation. I'm doing this because I want to live the life that I want to be in. Because you're either going to live the life that you want to be in, or you're just going to live the life that, is just unfolding, and you're just like you're there, you're here, you're there, like a ball in a ping pong machine.
And the other key piece here is the community, because when your personal
Yes.
motivation drops, right? Because it's going to, it's
Yes.
fickle, it's coming and going. When you have community and other people to lift you up and just go on the journey together, it's 1,000 times better. I mean, it's so much more feasible. So I think that also with functional moms, like that's one of our goals, is to build
Yes.
that
Build
community
community.
where we support one another. Because like we said, it's a journey. Raquel and I are always working on things, and you're
Oh my
right. We
God.
have fun working on things. Self-improvement can be super fun, and working on your health can be really fun. And I mean, there even is the word fun in functional medicine. I'm just going to say that, but
I love it. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it. Well, I do want to give credit to there's a young guy named Michael Smoke on the Higher Up Wellness podcast. And he says with motivation, if you were friends with motivation, you would ditch her. I say her because we're talking about women. You would ditch her because she's got high highs and low lows. And I thought that was really a good
Ooh,
point
that
I
is
love
good.
because we
that.
do, like you said, it's not always there. We can't rely on it, but we can rely on ourselves and that consistency. So the two of you are amazing. I love having you on this show. We may have to do a part 2 at some point, but I would love it if each of you've already dropped some amazing bombs for tips. But if you have a couple more tips that you'd like to share before we close out, I'd love to hear, just for women who are like, hey, I just need to get started on anything. The journaling tips were amazing. Do you have any more you'd like to share?
I think the first thing I would say is to remember that 0 is a number, and 0 also has an accumulative effect. So if you're thinking, like, for example, we used a lot like about exercise as an example. Oh, I don't have an hour. I have a really busy day. I don't have an hour. Can you carve out 5 minutes right before you jump into the shower and just do
I
a
love
couple of
that one.
things?
I love the 5 minute before shower
Yeah.
workout. That's one of my
Yes,
faves.
because then you don't have to worry about getting sweaty. You're going right in
Yeah.
the shower.
Going right in the
Yeah, yeah,
shower. You
yeah.
have
And
5 minutes.
if you go on our Instagram page, you'll see Kristen in there. She
Yeah.
videoed her
You'll see
little
me in the
workout.
bathroom.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the bathroom doing her workout. But the thing is that, in 5 minutes, you'll get quite a few reps in. Like, for example, or 5 minutes, I'm going to write in my journal for 5 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to write about. I'm just going to write, and it will naturally come out. Trust the process. Respect the process, respect it. And 0 is a number, and 0 has an accumulative effect. And so there's 5 minutes. So, decide which one you want and then head in that direction.
Yeah, and to your point, if you don't know where to start, just start. Just pick an area, and you'll be so grateful that you did, because you'll be on the journey. And then if you look at your small wins, we love on Fridays, write down your small wins. We had a guest come on that talked about that, and I started doing it consistently. My self-confidence improved a ton, like, because by Friday, I probably can barely remember what I did Monday. I mean, let's be honest. So if I can kind of keep a mental track, and then on Friday I know I'm going to write it all down, it's such a great experience, and it really will improve your confidence, and it's going to improve you to just keep It's going to help your motivation, because you're going to want to keep going forward, because you're going to see all the little small successes you're having.
Right. And I just want to make a point, because Kristen just said, and it'll help keep you motivated. And also, when the motivation, as we said, like sizzles out, doing those small wins will help keep your eye on the prize, because I remember Kristen in one of our shows, I remember Kristen talking about how the brain naturally defaults to like what's wrong, because the brain wants to figure out how to help make things
Solve
better.
problems. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Problem solving. So it's naturally looking at what's wrong. And so if that's our natural default, and then think about, like, the average woman out there has so many moving parts, and it's overwhelming. And then you look at social media and all the things that are coming at us, it can be overwhelming. So to take that time, like for example, like on Friday, and to write down your small wins. I think that was Chris the Hollander, we giving credit to, that talked to us about that on the podcast. And she talked about that stops you, like right there, that's journaling. You're
It
journaling
is.
about your
Yes.
small
Yeah.
wins.
Yes.
It totally
Yes,
is.
Let's
it is. All
go.
right.
And it's perfect for the person
Oh.
that's like, I don't even know what to write. Well, there you go. You have something
There
to
you go.
write.
Start with the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw that clip, and that particular day that I saw that clip on your feed, I had said to myself, literally walked in the door and said to myself, "Gosh, I did not get anything done today." But I actually sat down and I wrote down and I went through my day, and I actually got some stuff done, including the
Done.
workout and then all this work stuff. So I appreciate that, and I know women will completely love that. When they start getting into it, they will feel so much more confidence. And you are breeding that for women, which is, we need the empowerment, we need the confidence. What I would love to share with all the listeners is, because I keep talking about your feed, share with everyone, where can we find you?
Sure. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is at Functional Moms Podcast. And also, our podcast is on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And on YouTube, we're at Functional Moms Podcast.
That's fantastic. And I will be putting all of that in the show notes for everyone. So, and you'll see on my Instagram feed all of their information when we post about the podcast. Oh, ladies, Kristen and Raquel, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you. And for the listeners, nourish your entire life and give yourself grace today.